Welcome to Soltron. This is a video review for Super Wings World Aircraft. I think that's what this guy is called. Here's a size comparison. You can see he's pretty gigantic. And then here's a look at the directions. They're not very interesting, actually. Here's the head sculpt, which I think is pretty well done. It's really interesting looking and pretty heroic, but a little bit generic as well. It's got a kind of a blank visor going, but that's because he has light up sound effects. So if we zoom out a little bit, like all of this lights up and the visor as well. So here's the button right here on his chest. Okay, I'm pretty sure that's Chinese. It's a really great light up effect. It just works really well. I haven't had a lot of figures that have such great working lights, so that's a really good selling point of this figure. But I think his proportions are really good. He looks pretty interesting. He's very blocky, of course, and then he just has a very heroic looking sculpt. Nothing sinister, very colorful. So I really like these wings on his back, and those have some articulation as well. So you can get those in whatever position you want. And he's got pretty great articulation in general. He's got 360 on the head sculpt, so that rotates all the way around. One thing I don't like is these wings up here are rubber. So that's not so good, but everything else is a nice plastic for the most part. And then he's got full outward here with great ratchets, as you can hear. And then he can rotate his arms up most of the way, but then his shoulder pads are going to clash into this jetpack. I would have really liked if these had a hinge so they could fold forward a little bit, because they just stick out a lot, which is not a great look. And then here's what he looks like from the back as well. So he looks pretty good from all angles. And then he's got 90 degrees in the elbows, which is nice. No bicep swivel, of course. He does have rotating fists, but they only rotate in one direction. They only rotate this way. And these are actually made out of a rubber too for some reason. I don't understand that. That should have been plastic too. And then he doesn't have anything in the waist. He does have a full outward kick in the hips and good strong ratchets that actually hold that. So that's pretty impressive. And then a good forward kick. And then backward kick is going to be hampered by his backpack. And then it looks like he has knees, but he really doesn't. No knee swivel either. And then finally he does have pivoting feet. And then you can see he's got, the stickers are nice and holographic, which I think is a very nice detail. So I really like the look of this figure. And he does have one little play feature. So his legs have little hanger bays, which is pretty cool, and then these pull out, and then he comes with these little figures, which are the characters from the show, I guess, but they're really difficult to get out. So they're in there by like some friction, and there's like a little bit of a tab too, but they're pretty difficult. If you have small fingers, you can kind of get them from behind and pull them out, and then they just like deploy down this ramp or whatever. But these figures are pretty cool. They're good quality. They're a little too cutesy for me, but I guess this figure is a little bit babyish, so that's not surprising. This guy, I'm probably not going to be able to get out. And this one's like a cop. There we go. And then the eyes are just done in stickers, but otherwise they're really well painted and really well done figures. So the quality on this figure is definitely a 10. He's a nice solid figure. I'm not worried that anything's going to break or anything like that. And the building materials are really good plastic. I would say for the robot mode, he's definitely a 9 out of 10. I think he just looks really awesome. So for the transformation, he's got one kind of issue, is that this whole backpack has to come off in parts form. And this thing is enormous. and it doesn't really transform. It doesn't really do anything, which is kind of a problem. So then you're left with just like the basic looking robot, which also looks pretty cool in its own right. And then he does have an opening chest, which has another figure inside. So that's another play feature. This is kind of the cockpit area. And then it's got a couple stickers in here, but kind of nothing else going on, which is a little bit bland. And you have to apply these stickers yourself, and they're pretty hard because the static makes them kind of go wherever they feel like. So those 2 stickers I had to put in myself. But to transform this guy is pretty simple. You just move the arms all the way out. You're going to compress the forearms into the shoulder pads and they tab into place. And then you're going to rotate this down like this. And then this is just going to rotate to the back of the body. The head completely comes out of the clip up here. And then when you transform him to robot mode, he does have a sound effect. So really awesome LED effect there. And that's just going to compress back here. And then you do the same thing with the other arm. And now you have like half of a submarine kind of looking thing. So next the pelvis is going to rotate back. So you get a transformation noise, and you also get one for going to robot mode. And then you're going to sandwich the 2 legs together, and they use friction right here to connect. And then the toes just point up like this. They don't go all the way up. So they're just supposed to be there. And the plastic on the feet is a little bit cheap feeling, but everything else feels pretty good. And then you're going to have to rotate the legs forward 1 click as you rotate this all the way up. And then finally, you're going to rotate the hips back in place. And these little tabs are going to tab into the leg armor. So you can see this tab is out of place. It goes into the slot right there. It's just got to fit in like that. And then finally, on the underside, you have these wheels that deploy. Okay, and then finally, the arm panels are going to fold down and just clean this up right here. And then you have pretty much this gigantic submarine-looking thing with a big hole in the top. But this is kind of an interesting thing you can kind of play with just by itself, I guess. And then finally, you take this whole extra kibble and you just put that into the back here. And it's got like a locking mechanism with this button, which is kind of... it's not that useful, but it just keeps everything tabbed into place. And you can see there's lots of different places where it tabs in. So just slot all that in place. And then you just orient these wing engines into place, and there you go. You've got this really cool looking battleship or aircraft carrier. So I just think this looks pretty amazing. I'm just really thrilled by the look of this thing. It's simple, it's colorful, it's gigantic. Like, you can easily have a Voyager figure just hang out and stand on this deck. And then it's got a couple of little features, like I showed you the cockpit section here. It's also got a hanger back here for extra storage, and the figures just slot there. And this time they don't hold in by friction, so they kind of just go down the ramp like that. It's not too interesting, but basically they just fly off, I guess, from there. So that's the aircraft section. One thing I wish they would have done is made this hangar bay deeper, because it only goes about this deep, and all this section here is just wasted plastic where they just don't do anything. So it'd be nicer if this storage area opened up more or transformed in some kind of interesting way. And then all the sound effects still work, but they're the same as far as I can tell. But yeah, that's pretty much the whole look at this figure. I really like it. The alt mode is also interesting and clean, which I enjoy. And yeah, I'd highly recommend this to anybody that's interested in this figure. It's probably a little bit pricey. I think I got on Sir Toys for about $80, which is a pretty good deal for a figure that's this large. But anyway, I'll see you in the next one. Make sure you check my link for the figures that I'm going to be selling in the next couple of videos.